Hello there, I'm Dark Shades and I'm broadcasting from England. And I've decided to do a series called Life Lessons. Now, I've been reading this book by Rick Warren called The Purpose Driven Life. And it kind of tells you what your purpose is and how you're supposed to navigate your way through life. And I'm going to start an introduction so you can understand where it's going, and I'm going to see how often I can do the series. I think it's going to be time permitting, so please subscribe if you're interested in this series. We learn from experiences of others. There is no time to learn by trial and error. I mean, some people, they want to do things their own way. They make a mistake. It takes them even longer to try and remedy that mistake when they could have learned just because somebody else has experienced that and they've actually shown you what to do or how to do it. So we must learn from the life lessons of one another. The good book says a warning given by an experienced person to someone willing to listen is more valuable than jewels made out of the finest gold. Now, I have to say I'm experienced. I'm not fully experienced because I haven't reached the end of my life, but I'm 68 years in September. So I assume that I have accumulated enough life experiences to at least help you on your way. And so that some of you younger people may not make the same mistakes. So the first one I'm going to do, I was going to actually go back and start from the very beginning when I first started making mistakes as a young person. But I decided to do it as of today while experiences are fresh in my mind. So this one is, why do good women attract bad men? Now, what is a good woman? Well, a good woman is relative, number one. It's somebody who is kind. My definition of a good woman is a person who's kind, who's thoughtful, who's helpful, and, who goes out of her way, basically. Now, is that really a good woman, or is she a soft touch? You have to ask yourself. And why does she attract bad men? Now, what is a bad man? Bad man could be, the way we know it, could be an abuser, could be a narcissist, he could be somebody who takes advantage, who's inconsiderate, who's selfish, that kind of stuff. But is that a bad man, or is that somebody who's just self-interested, interested in himself more than he is for other people? Anyway, putting it in the context of the ideal good woman and the perception we have of bad men, I've put this title, Why Do Good Women Attract Bad Men? Okay, well, first thing I've put down is because good women want to believe there are good men out there. Normally, good women are empaths, and I don't know, this good woman title doesn't sit well with me, but let me say caring women as opposed to good women. Let's say caring women. Why do they attract bad men? And it's because they want to believe that there are compatible men out there, people who are just men who are just as caring and who are supportive and who are as loving as the woman is. So that is what they have in their mind. That is their expectation. That is what they believe they deserve. And because they have it in their head that, people judge people by themselves, don't they? So if an individual thinks that they're good, they're bound to believe that there are other good people out there. So you'll find that these are good women who are unselfish and, overly considerate. They're going to think that there are equivalent men out there. But are there? That is the question. So good women believe they're entitled to a good man, but most good men come in bad packages. So when you think about the good man, could be somebody who is intelligent, thoughtful, um, they're supportive, they take you here, they take you there, all that kind of stuff. But then the bad package, what is that? The bad package means that underneath that good exterior, he's hiding a lot of undesirable traits, so to speak. So, and bad men, let's just use narcissists for an example, have mastered the art in knowing what women want and how to play to what they want, albeit temporarily. Now, when you think of that movie with, it's not Bruce Willis, is it? Might be Bruce Willis. Anyway, the guy that was in What Women Want, and he was able to play to what women wanted. He had the advantage over them. Well, you have some men who make out like they're really interested in women, but they're not. They study them. And they study them and they actually grow a resentment towards them. Maybe because they were bullied by women as youngsters, but for whatever reason, they develop a dislike or a resentment to successful women. I think most men, they develop a resentment for successful women because they believe that it is their place to be successful. They want to be placed on a pedestal. They want to be the ones who women look up to. And when you have successful women, they kind of feel less than, and they feel as though they cannot match that person. And as a result, regardless of how you discuss things, regardless of how fair the situation could be, you find that they become resentful and bitter, and they start having their little digs and they start snarling and that kind of thing. So it kind of brings out the negative in them. So even though they've started off being that person who you would like to be with and who you thought was perfect, you'll find down the line that it was just a ploy to get you on side. Once they get you on side, normally it's through marriage or babies, then you see the real person come out. They have to commit you somehow. Once they feel as though they've committed you, then that is when you see their true colours. Now, it's very important that you do not become reliant on a narcissist or a bad man, because they will abuse you if you do. And they'll abuse you in subtle ways. You won't even know how they're abusing you. They might abuse you by ignoring you. They might abuse you by dragging things out. They might abuse you by just being obstructive, resistant, resentful. Lots of ways they can try to sabotage whatever it is you're trying to do if you are considered a successful woman. So they'll initially use charm, courtesy, decency, compliments, respect, generosity. And they can take their time. You know, you'd think that you're going to see these negative traits within a few months, but no, they know how to play the game. So, you know, after a year or so, that's when it starts coming out, when you start feeling a bit comfortable with them. So, saying what seems too good to be true usually is. Now, when we're talking about, we're not talking about scams now, we're talking about individuals. Why would it be an individual's traits be too good to be true? Is it saying that traits like decency, respectability, honesty, caring, generosity, are they traits that are too good to be true if you see them? Is that what people mean when they say, oh, if he's too good to be true, you know, if he looks too good to be true, he probably is. So what that's in effect saying is that somebody who is really on top of his game and knows exactly how to please a woman, that is not the norm. The norm is for somebody to be inconsiderate, to be selfish, to be unpleasant. That is the norm. Over time, what traits they use to draw you in, they dwindle. Sensitivity, consideration, generosity switches to insensitivity, mean-spiritedness, and your thoughtlessness. So what do you do when you find yourself in this situation? Well, first thing is you don't compromise yourself. You don't rescue and you don't become overzealous. And be true to who you are. None of this Miss Nice person. Because you'll find that you know, especially if it's a new relationship, you'll find that you try to be nice, you try to appease, you try to put your best face on. And you're better off just being who you are. Even if sometimes you don't like who you are. Like sometimes I don't like who I am. When I am short-tempered or disgruntled or moody, I don't really like that person. And I try to switch it. But that is who I am. If you upset me, it shows on my face. I have one of those arrested face. And I look miserable. I'm not a very attractive person. When you upset me, you know, and I want to try and work it out in my head how to respond or how to deal with it, or ask myself whether or not I should be affected by someone's behavior, it shows on my face. And during that period, I become withdrawn, I become sullen, and yeah, I'm just not talkative. So it is important that you don't let whoever it is try to make you feel guilty because you are who you are. You're expressing yourself in a way that you express yourself. There is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being moody. There's nothing wrong with being angry. There's nothing wrong with cursing if he's made you mad, regardless of how he says, oh, you're over emotional, oh, this and that. Just don't take no notice. You express yourself, who you are, because no matter how you try to compromise, no matter how you try to fit into the way he's saying that you should be, it's never going to be enough. So just stay true to who you are. That's life lesson 1. Stay true to who you are. Don't try to be overly helpful. Don't be overzealous. Don't buy them stuff every 5 minutes. If they're hungry, let them ask you for something to eat. Don't be saying, "Oh, are you hungry? Do you want some dinner?" All of that stuff you don't do. You let them ask you and let them show that their need for you, as opposed to you preempting that by offering and making it seem as though, oh, you're the one that's overly interested. So, what is the life lesson? So what do you do? I've done that. So what is the life lesson? Well, most men are out to impress. If you can understand that most men are out to impress. If they're out to impress, it means they're lying. Now, they don't think it's lying. They just think, oh, well, you know, I need to say this and I need to do this to get her. But it is actually a lie. So most men will do that because most men want to impress women, and most men are not happy with their lives or happy with their lot. So they'll do something or say something to impress. So it's nothing personal. Don't take it personally. When a man hasn't told you the truth, just think, yeah, it's a man. He's unable to speak the truth. You know, and sometimes, you know, sometimes they'll say they said something and they didn't. Then next thing you ask them about it, they say they didn't say it. It's just a way of winding you up. Don't get caught up in it. That is the life lesson. It's difficult because even though I'm giving you this advice, I still fall prey to it. So you just try to keep calm. So their goal is to get you by any means necessary. Once a man has got his eye on a woman or his target, he is going to say and do whatever he needs to get her on side. Keeping her is a different ball game, but he is going to try and get her. Okay, so once they've got you and they've got you in a position where it's difficult for you to get out, that's when you see their true colours. So, best thing to do is date them as long as possible. Don't marry them and don't have children for them. Anyone that seems overly nice, just play it out. at least for 2 years. They won't be able to keep it up for 2 years. And 2 years, it passes in no time. You can normally tell by a year whether or not what a man is up to. And yeah, I'm not saying that you have to leave them, but you are aware of who they are and what they are and their mentality, and you can work your way around it instead of being upset, disappointed and angry. Don't expect them to be honest. Don't expect men to be honest. You're going to be very disappointed. These women that say, oh, you told me this, oh, you said you were going to do that, or you said, they're men incapable of telling the truth. They'll tell the truth on some things, but the things that women find important for men to tell the truth on, they don't. The stupid little inconsequential things, that is where they can't tell the truth. So the things where it's important, that's what they lie about. And expect them to say what they think you want to hear. That's another thing. They have an idea what you want to hear, and they'll say it. Whether it's to shut you up, whether it's to put a smile on your face, whether it's to make you think that they're great, they'll do whatever it takes. And don't be too fussed if they don't attempt to please you. We have this image in our head that if men love us, they will please us. No, they don't. They want to please themselves first. And you see it. They do try. Some of them, bless their hearts, they do try. But by and large, they really are only interested in pleasing themselves. If they have to please you to get what they want, oh, then yes, they will please you. But their ulterior motive has to benefit them. So just remember that. And I'm telling you this so you don't get too disappointed. You don't enter into relationships with an ideal concept. You know, I grew up thinking that, life was all hunky-dory. And when a man told a lie or when a man was unfaithful, it was the biggest disappointment. I ran a mile and I was so upset and disappointed and angry. It's just nature. If you do find a rare person who's faithful, maybe sexually faithful, you'll find that they've got some other thing wrong with them. So, it swings and roundabouts. That's all I'm saying. It's not a perfect world, and there are no perfect men. Just expect grief. As long as you've got a man in your life, expect grief. And if you don't get grief, wonderful, wonderful. Expect them to try and please you, but don't be too fussed if they don't. Expect them to be disinterested in what you're doing. I mean, a lot of us think, oh, he said he loves me, but he's not interested in what I do. He doesn't ask me where I go. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. If he was interested, he would do this. Forget it. They're not interested. They really are not interested. They're interested in what you've got to give them to eat, and they're interested in whether or not you're going to allow them to make love to you, and they'll do whatever it takes to sweep you up so they can get a bit, and then you'll find them go back to their old dotty ways. So don't expect too much, because men are just who they say they are. Why do you think woe comes before men? Because you're going to have a woeful experience as long as you have a man in your life. If your expectations are high, you will be disappointed. You just have to have realistic expectations if you have a man in your life, because they can keep up the good spirit and the good demeanor and everything. They can only keep it up for a little while, and then you see the real individual. Can you live with it? Personally, I love my own company, and if I've got one of them in my life, I'll see them periodically. But I'm not going to try, and I'm not going to let them steal my joy. That's one thing I'm not going to do. And it's very easy for me to say that, because a lot of women, they want to believe these men. They want to believe that what they say to them is true. And you've got to be very careful with some men, because some men are so cunning. They put ideas in your head, and then you act out on the idea, and they make it look like it was your idea. And then they back off. Well, I didn't tell you to do it. I didn't tell you to do it. You did it. And then when you reflect back, you're like, yeah, you know. But they put the suggestion in your head. So you've got to be very, very careful. That is a part of rescuing. You know, as empaths, women rescue. So sometimes men will drop hints. I used to go out with this guy, and he used to say to me, oh, you know, we'd go out shopping, and he'd go, oh, I really love those sandals. Oh, boy, I've always wanted those sandals. And I'm like, if you always wanted them, why don't you go in there and buy them? But what he's hoping, and what some women will do is, oh, do you really like those sandals? Oh, I'll get them for you. Or what the man does is they'll hover in shops where they want something. And they hope that because you love them so much, you're going to pick up what they want and buy it for them. You have to be careful about men who try to manipulate you in subtle ways. And you can't blame them. That is their bag. They are experts in getting what they want. That is how they've grown, to get what they want from women by hook or by crook. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just who they are. Even if you go to a dance and a man will circle and circle and circle until he hones into the person that he wants. And he'll do and say anything to get that woman. That woman, by the time she's turned around, she don't even know how she ended up with the person. Skill. Some men are so skillful in entrapping women, and you just have to be careful, and you just have to make sure you don't believe them. If you like them, it's fine, go along with them. You know, if you're attracted to them, it's fine, go along with it. But don't let a man who you have no interest in and are not attracted to draw you into their web of deceit and lies. Because you won't be happy if they don't fulfill what you want them to fulfill. There needs to be an attraction. So that way, you know, when they go off into their little tantrums, you're not really bothered, and if they behave themselves, you're more willing to forgive. Okay, so and expect them to be miserable if you don't please them. It's all a part of the game. They shut up their mouth, they go quiet, they leave, they go on the silent treatment. Who bloody cares? Reach to that point where you don't care. It's so important not to care. Care in the way that you're a caring person and you know you're helpful and stuff like that, but not in the sense that when they try to manipulate you with their emotions, you mustn't care. That's what I mean. This has gone on a bit long, which I didn't expect, but anyway. How do you manage their behavior? You don't. Don't try to change them. Don't try to manage it. I mean, sometimes it's our instinct to get angry and say, oh, you always do this or you're always like that. Try your best to keep it inside. Go for a walk. Go to the toilet. You know, let it play in your head. And ask yourself, why am I getting worked up? What is it why I'm getting worked up? It's probably because he said something to aggravate you, or he's contradicting himself, or he's lying. And you have to say to yourself, he's a man. That's what men do. And whether or not you live with it, if you love them, if you're married to them, you just do not allow their behavior to affect you. That's the most important thing. Learn, it takes a while, day by day. Just try to not allow their behavior to affect you. If they say something you don't like, don't react. I don't know how you do it. I haven't mastered it myself yet. I'm working on it. But what I'm finding now is that I don't get angry for so long. I don't shut myself off for so long. I'm able to come out of it. And at some point, it'll be instantaneous. At the moment, there might be a 5, 10, 15-minute gap before I reach that stage. That's up to me. I'll take that time. And it will get less and less until it reaches a point where he'll say something and I won't respond. I'll be just how I am normally. And that's the point you want to reach. So that's like developing a mental armor. Try not to let their words and attitude affect you. Work out a strategy how you will not be affected, which is the strategy I've been telling you to use. I'm an empath. My emotions show on my face. I find it difficult to hide my emotions if I'm disappointed, but I'm working on it and talking to myself. And that is what I was saying. Yes, it'll take me 10, 15 minutes, and I'm not going to chastise myself if that's the time I need to readjust and become back to my normal self and think of he's just an arsehole. You know what I mean? It's okay. It's okay to think that they are who they are, you know, but it's as long as you don't let it ferment and make you bitter and angry and resentful. I tell myself it's the man's game. I mustn't play his game. I must play my own game. And your own game is to keep yourself sane, to keep yourself happy, and not allow anyone to steal your joy. So my game is to develop emotional intelligence, no matter what he says, to make light of it. And I think that is it. That is it. Hope you found it useful. Bye-bye. That was life lesson number 1.